जाएगा। मुश्किलें जितनी आए हिम्मत नहीं हारेगा तू। याद रख तू कौन है, पर्वत को चीर फाड़ेगा तू। पंख नहीं दिखते तेरे पर भर ले तू ऐसी उड़ान। उड़ जा नन्हे पंछी कर दे सब परिंदों को तू हैरान। कोशिशों से मिलती कामयाबी, कामयाबी का तू हकदार है। रास्तों की खाके ठोकरें, जीतने के लिए तू अब तैयार है। ओ रुकना कैसा, डरना कैसा। बात नहीं कोई अब डरने की, कर ले जिद आगे बढ़ने की। बात नहीं कोई अब डरने की, कर ले जिद आगे बढ़ने की।
Good evening, everyone. I am your host, Manpreet. Welcome to the third season of ISG Practicals by Internshala Trainings. ISG Practicals is a series of free online masterclasses delivered by industry experts. These 45-minute sessions are all about teaching students important concepts, softwares, and tools. Every ISG Practical is an opportunity to experience practical learning. This episode is about Tableau, and our presenter today is Mr. Fazan. Fazan is a business management and data science consultant with over 15 years of experience in helping organizations make data driven decisions. He has an electronics engineering degree from Anna University and an MBA from Rotterdam School of Management, Erasmus University. He has worked across telecom and publishing industries where he has leveraged analytics to transform businesses and make strategic decisions. He has held strategy management and mid-senior operations management roles at Elsevier, the world's leading science information providing company, where he helped shape up the strategy of the operations division and build a data science team. Since 2019, he runs an analytics consulting company helping mid-sized companies across publishing and hospitality industries transform using data analytics. I hope you will enjoy this webinar with him. We have a very special gift for you at the end, so stay tuned for that. And without further ado, let's welcome Fazan.
Thanks, Manpreet. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Fazan. I'm very glad to see you all. I hope that everyone is looking forward to a fruitful session, and so am I. Okay, so let's get started. Data visualization using Tableau. So that's going to be our session. And the agenda is going to be, first, we will introduce what Tableau is. Some of you may know what Tableau is. For those who don't know, don't worry what Tableau is and how Tableau can help us. And using Tableau, we are going to analyze a data set called suicide data set. So we are going to analyze the global suicide trends. And first, we will try to look into the data and try to understand what's going on in the data. And then once we understand what's going on in the data, we'll get started with Tableau. We'll open Tableau and then input a data set, and then we'll start analyzing. We'll create charts, we'll create dashboards in Tableau, and then we will present these charts in dashboards. Finally, when we present it, we also want to distribute it to our network, right? So we want to save your work and then distribute it to others, your clients or your superiors or your colleagues, etc. So we'll see how we can do that. So that's going to be our agenda. Finally, if you have any questions, you can ask questions to me and I try to answer. And while we do all these things, it's going to be a completely we are going to have a couple of quiz questions. I'm going to ask you questions while we are doing the session, and I would very much encourage you to come up with answers right? So shall we get started? Can I see some comments in the chat? Yes, can you give some thumbs? Yeah, okay, let's get started. So what is Tableau? So Tableau is a market-leading data analytics and visualization tool. So some of you may have used Excel for analyzing data and also creating charts, right? Sometimes Excel can be a bit clunky when you create charts. And Tableau is a very intuitive tool, and it was launched, I think, in 2004 or 2003. And since it was launched, it has been it has been shaping the visualization business intelligence market completely. Tableau is one of the market leading tools now, and later, and then almost after 10 years since Tableau was launched, Power BI was launched to tackle Tableau, and that's how powerful Tableau is, right? Tableau allows you to, in a very intuitive way, understand, explain, and present data, of course, by creating charts and dashboards. So that's Tableau. If you want to install Tableau, you can go to www.tableau.com. You can click on the button called Try Now. I'm just going to switch the screen and show you this. So you can click on the Try Now, and if you click here and give your email address, then you should be in a position to download Tableau. And for 15 days, you should be in a position to use Tableau for free. If you are a student currently enrolled in any of the university, then you should be in a position to get 1-year license, right? So that's for free. Alternatively, you can also download this thing called public Tableau. It is very similar to Tableau. One difference is that it's slightly limited. It limits your commercial use of Tableau. But apart from that, functions, features, and everything is almost same. So you can install this if you want to learn Tableau. The features are almost identical, right? So you can learn Tableau using Tableau Public as well. So that's a very useful tool. I'm going to use Tableau Public for this session today, right? So that if someone is going to use Tableau Public, then they completely know, they can completely match with what I'm going to do today, right? So those are the places from where you can uh, uh, download Tableau. Okay, so let's switch to the data set. So this is the data set that we have. So we have the name of the country, which took place, the year in which that happened, whether they are male or female, what's the age group, how many people in that particular age group, what's the total population in that particular age group, and also what's the GDP of that particular country, GDP per capita, so on and so forth. And if you look at this, we have roughly about 27,000 data points, right? So the data set is quite big. So we have about 27,000 rows. So that's quite some data set, right? So we are going to visualize this in Tableau now. When we finish the session, you're going to have something similar to this, right? We will create a dashboard that is very similar to this, and we will analyze and make this interactive, right? So when you click something, all the charts and everything will change, right? So you can see that some things have changed. What did really happen? We will talk about that and explain that in a bit. So now, we'll get started with an empty worksheet. So now I have Tableau open, right? So this is an empty worksheet. When you open, you should be in a position to see something like this. This will be the first screen that you will see when you open Tableau, right? Since I already have one file opened and saved, it's called Suicide Global. That's something I created a while ago. It's shown here. If you're using Tableau for the first time, you won't see anything here, right? So this is going to be your first screen in Tableau. You're going to see file, data, and help. The first thing that we are going to do with Tableau is we're going to connect to a data set. So the data set that we have is a comma separated value file. So comma separated value can be opened in Excel or in Notepad or in Python, etc. So that's not an Excel file, it's a text file. So we are going to click on text file, and I have already pointed the folder to the Suicide dataset. So if I click open, then I should be in a position to open the dataset. Okay, the data set has been imported into Tableau. Now we can start analyzing the data. So if you look at this, Tableau shows me what the data set is, and it has imported it as a table, and it is also showing the table in a metadata view here on the left and the table view on the right. So the metadata view shows me what's the field name, what from where we are getting this table, right? So what's the physical table? So that's from the suicide data.csv and so on and so forth, right? So that's all given here. And on the table view, I'm just going to minimize the metadata view here. And if I look at the table view, this looks very similar to Excel, isn't it? So we have the country name, year, and the gender, and the age group, how many people committed suicide, and population, so on and so forth. So this is very similar to what we would see in Excel. Make this a little bit bigger. So now, before we get started with analyzing the data, we need to make sure that the data is clean and then it's usable. In this particular case, the data is more or less clean, so I don't have to do a lot of cleanup. So we can just go ahead and start with that. There's only a couple of things that I would do, but before that, let's just take a quick look at all these things, right? So if you look at the country, the country variable is shown as a small globe symbol, right? So this means that the data is imported as a geo information, right? So geographical. So even though it's a string, it, it says that, hey, it's a country region. It already identifies that whatever is contained here, right? So that's a country information, geographical information, and at the level of country. So Tableau is quite smart in knowing what is exactly contained in the data. So that's good. And then here, year data, it shows that year is a number. It's a whole number. I want this to be called out as a date, right? So it's not date and time, it's just date, right? So I'm just going to click on this so we can clearly see that it's now a date so that I can process this as a date. Since we have only the year number in it, the default will be the 1st of January that particular year. So that's okay. We have this data now shown as a year information, right? So the date information. Now you can see that there's a little calendar symbol appearing because now we called it a date. And then sex is string and age is also string. And so even though age is a number, since we call it out as 15 to 24 years, it's a string, right? So it's okay. And the number, the suicide number, it's a number, right? So you can see that it's a whole number, so that's good. And all whole numbers. So that's all good. So the data is in a good format for us to use it. So now we'll get started and start analyzing. I hope that you're all excited to start analyzing. So we'll go to sheet one. When you go to sheet one, then this is the place where we will create the chart. And on the left-hand side, we have all the data variables available for us, right? All the string and we call it dimensions, the string and the geographic information, all these are shown on the top, and the numbers, anything that is a metric or a measure, right? That is shown on the bottom. They are generally shown as green label. So that's good. So someone is asking why GDP is string. So GDP is, that's a good question. GDP for year. Maybe some missing value in the GDP, so that might have caused it to be a string. We will convert it into number and see how it is decimal. Okay, so looks like there was some missing value or some space in that particular thing. That's the reason why it was showing. But anyways, I'm going to use the GDP per capita, not the GDP for the whole year, so it's okay. So that's fine. But when we look at it in a real life, we may have to clean that up. Okay, so sheet one, we are back into sheet one. So we were seeing that these are the variables that you're going to use that we can drag and drop into the chart. And on the top, you see all the menu control and everything. So now we are going with with the chart. So first, when we start looking at it, I'm just going to start with a year, right? So what's the annual trend? Has it been increasing or decreasing? So I just want to understand that. So I'm just going to take year and put it in year column or a row, right? So that will make my chart, that will be the structure of my chart. So I'm going to put it in columns, so see what happens. So the moment I put it in my chart, it goes into my x-axis. Columns is the x-axis in Tableau. So I can clearly see from 1985 to 2017, all the markers are created. So we haven't assigned a value so that we know how much how much was in 1985 versus 2015. So that's something we haven't done. We are only saying, hey, I have set up the x-axis. So now I want to set up the y-axis. So for y-axis, I want to take the suicide number and put it in the rows. So that will set up my y-axis. So now you can see that the trend is increasing and then it just stabilized and then it dropped. But then all of a sudden, in 2016, it dropped to 15,000, where the previous years it was around 2 lakhs, right? So it's not possible that it goes below 10% of the previous year, right? So all of a sudden, people won't change their mind to not commit something that's stupid, right? So why would that be the case? Probably the thing is, the data is not complete, right? So in 2016, maybe we only have 1 month data. So this is one of the typical problems that we would see when we tackle the real life data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the data source and eliminate the year 2016 from this data set so that we can process only till 2015. So I'm just going to say in the filter, I'm going to go and add the year into my filter, and I'm going to filter all the years except 2016. I'm just going to exclude 2016, click OK. Okay, so that's done. Now if I look at the sheet, now the year 2016 is gone, right? So that's good, right? So it has been increasing in the years 80s to 90s, and then it was stabilizing, and then it is declining. So declining trend is a very good thing, right? So that's really good. So this is what we have. So what I'm going to now do is we're going to retain this chart, and then I'm going to call it a yearly trend. So just like what you would do in Excel, if you click on the sheet name and double click it, and you can just rename it. Otherwise, you can right click and say rename. That will allow you to rename the sheet name. When you name the, it also appears here, right? So the sheet name is a tag, you can just put it here. So I'm just going to bold it so that it looks nice. Yearly trend. So it shows that it is increasing and then it is declining. So that's a good thing. So maybe it's a moment for us to answer a quiz question. So let's switch to quiz. So have the suicide rates been on a decline globally? So yes or no? Yes. A lot of people are saying yes. No, someone is saying no. So look at this, it's declining, right? So it's on a decline. Yes. Well, a lot of people are giving right good answers. So that's really good. So let's click yes. Okay, so that's a correct answer. A lot of you have got it right. So that's good. Congratulations. So now let's switch back to Tableau. Okay. Yeah, well, thanks. We are now moving on to the Tableau. So now we are going to create the next chart, right? So what can we do next? So maybe what we can do is we can try to understand how the trend is going on across the countries, right? So whether one country is having more suicide rates or less, right? So that's something we can try to understand. So I'm just going to click this button. So if I click on this button, that creates a new sheet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the country and drop it here in the rows, or I can also drop it here, right? So that's my x-axis, sorry, y-axis. I can drop it here or here. So I'm here. So the moment I drop it here, it gives me a kind of a table view, right, of all the countries. So Albania, it's sorted alphabetically, Albania to Uzbekistan, so all the countries. So how many countries do we have? So if you look at this bottom left, maybe my video is hindering that. So if you go here and look at the 100, then you will see 100 marks here, right? So I'm just going to minimize the screen and move it here and see, okay, 100 marks here. So 100 marks in the sense there are 100 markers in my data, which means there are 100 data points, right? So 100 countries are there. So that's good. So this data set is not exhaustive. So we don't have all the countries, but that's okay. This is for training purposes. So we can analyze 100 countries. So now I want to take the suicide number and then put it in the columns, right? So now you can see that we have a nice bar chart coming up, right? So the moment you drop it, it's a nice bar chart. So it's super intuitive. So you can just drag and drop and create charts. But now the problem I have is the chart is a bit scrambled and all over the place. I don't know which one is the top, right? So I want to sort it. So all I have to do is I click the country and sort it in the descending order. So the moment I sort it in the descending order, I can see that Russian Federation has the highest number of suicides, 12 lakh 9,000, and then United States, the next one, 10 lakh 34,000, and then Japan, 8 lakh 6,000, so on and so forth, right? So that's the suicide total counts. So now, if I want to show also the numbers here, so I can say label, show mark labels. If I do that, the values will also be shown immediately, right? So next to the bar itself, the values will be shown about Tableau. So you can control a lot of things in the chart very easily. So now this shows me the total suicides in each of these countries, right? So that's a good measure. But at the same time, one of the things that I don't like is to look into the total suicide rate, right? The total suicide count, because the thing is, some countries they have high population, some countries have low population. For instance, US has a lot of population compared to, let's say, France, right? So I want to understand what's the suicide rate, right? So it's not about the total count. I want to understand out of 100 people, how many people commit suicide, right? So out of 1,000 people, out of million people, how many people take their lives? So that's what I want to understand, because the more people there are, the suicide number is also going to be more, right? So if there are more people, there are going to be more stores, more cars, and more automobiles, and so on and so forth, right? So whenever you have huge population, anything is going to be huge. So I just don't want to get carried away by the absolute numbers. I want to understand the suicide rates. So how do I do that? So what I can do is, so maybe I'll just show the population, so then you can understand what's going on. So if I add the population here, I have created a next chart next to this. You can see that US population is almost double, right? So it's twice as the Russia. But Russia has highest number of suicide, which means what? It would have a highest suicide rate. So I just don't want to just go with the actual, just the total number. Otherwise, US would seem like it has a lot of suicides. That's probably not the case, right? So I'm just going to remove this. I'm going to create a new metric called suicide rate, right? So if I go here, click on this button and create a calculated field, this is just like how you create a new column. That's basically what this is. I'm going to say suicide per 1 million, right? So, so I'm just going to say sum of suicide number divided by sum of population. If I do that, and also I'm just going to multiply this by, since this is going to give me a very small number, I'm going to multiply this by million, right? So that's 10 lakh. So 3, okay, 6 zeros. So that is basically going to be, I'm going to look into every single data in Russia, sum it up, and then divide it by the sum of population within Russia. That's basically what it's going to do. And then I'm going to click OK. Now I'll take the suicide per million and drop it here. Now you can see that this chart is slightly different. Now I want to sort based on this one. So I'll just click this and then sort it. So the moment I do it, what happened is that Russia, even though it had the highest number of suicides, it went to the second position, but Lithuania went to the top, even though it had only 27,000 suicides, right? So in total, it had only 27,000 suicides. But what is happening? So the suicide rate is 414 per million in Lithuania, whereas in Russia, it is 327. And the next one is Sri Lanka, which is 304, and then Belarus, 303, Hungary, 300, so on and so forth, right? So, I mean, all these are cold countries, except Sri Lanka. There is one study that also shows that the suicide rates in the cold countries are high during the winter season. So winter is very depressing. So that could probably be one of the reasons. But you can clearly see that the suicide rates is very different. This is a better picture of what's really going on rather than the total numbers. So now if you want, we can take this metric out and just keep the chart clean with just the suicide rate. So now I'm going to ask the next question. Which country had the most suicide rates? Option A is Russian Federation. Option 2, B is Lithuania, Sri Lanka, Kazakhstan, and none of the above. So which country had the most suicide rates? Russia, B, Lithuania. So it looks like there is equal, or now more people are saying Lithuania. Okay, B, B, B. There's a lot of people saying B, Russian Federation. Some people are saying Russia. Okay, so some people are still saying the thing is the answer is Lithuania. So let's just take a look at this. In Lithuania, 414 people out of million committed. And then in Russia, it's 327 or 328 out of a million, right? So that's in Lithuania, it's almost like 90 more people, right? So that's almost like 25, 30% more than Russia. So Lithuania is the country with the highest suicide rates, right? So let's click OK and submit this. That's the correct answer, right? So just one thing to notice. We have this Tableau training in Internshala, right? So there's like tons and tons of quiz questions like this, right? So just like what we did. So analyze the data, and you will be in a position to answer such questions there, and that will allow you to analyze and get better with Tableau, right? So that's something there. Anyways, going back to Tableau. So we see that Lithuania is the highest, the country with highest number of suicide rates. I also want to do one more question. So if you want to compare two countries, right, which is a better metric? Should you use the total suicide or suicide per million? Which is a better metric to compare two countries? Should you go with A or B? B? Someone is saying B? A, B? So the problem with A is that if you compare the total suicides, if you're going to compare India with, let's say, Maldives, right? Maldives is obviously going to have few people, right? Few lakhs of people, right? Not more than that. So if you have few lakh people, obviously the suicide number is also going to, you want to compare it against the population. So you normalize it, right? So whenever you normalize, then it is much easier comparison across two countries. So suicide per 1 million is going to be the metric that we will use. That's also a correct answer, right? So obviously I'm getting all the answers correct because I was the one who set up this question, but you are also getting it right. So so okay. So someone is asking me to speak a bit louder. I'll do that. All of you are getting it correct. So that's a very good thing. So I can clearly see that you guys are following this really, really well. Huge thumbs up to all of you. So going back to Tableau. Okay, so Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, the countries are shown here as a bar chart, right? So, the bar charts are, it's nice. It gives you the information in a very nice way, but then they're boring, right? In the business setting, they get bored with bar charts. So Tableau doesn't bore you. Tableau is very exciting and interesting. So Tableau allows you to present information in a nice and intuitive way. So I'm just going to take the country, instead of dropping it here across the columns, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it here in the center of the chart. So the moment I do that, see what happens. Yeah. So, wow, right? It has created a map, right? So Tableau already knows that, hey, this is Russia, this is Belarus, and this is South Africa, and this is US, this is Mexico, and all that, right? So it knows that whatever that you're saying is a country and where the country belongs to, right? So you can see that there is latitude, longitude. These are generated by knows that this is a country, and then it generates. So now we have put some markers in the map, right? So we have put some pins in the map saying these are the countries you're talking about. But now what I want to do is I want to show some measure, right? So the total suicide or suicide rate, I'm going to connect it and see how it looks. I'm just going to take the suicide per million, bring it to the color, see what happens. So the moment I do that, the countries that have high suicide rates are colored dark, right? So this is Lithuania, 414, Russian Federation, 327. You can see, I'm just going to move the map a little bit. Uh, yeah, okay. So now you can see the map view. Of course, these countries, we don't have the data. That's okay. India, China, the Asian, some of the Asian countries and the African countries, we don't have the information. If you look at this, all the cold countries, they have high suicide rate, and all the tropicals, they have low suicide rate, right? So that could be probably due to the weather and all that. But also the thing is, I'm just going to make it a little bit better, right? The color I'm going to, instead of blue, right? So I'm just going to make it red, because this is I just want to just make it more dramatic. So I'm just going to say red green, right? So red is bad, green is good. But then it's reverse, right? So red is good and green is bad. That's how it is taken. So I'm just going to say reverse it, so that green is good, red is bad. So if I click OK, right? Russia is in deep red. I'm not talking about the political situation now, but yeah, so in terms of suicide, right? So that's deep red. And Lithuania is also in deep red. If you look at this relatively, right? So again, this is all relative. So is basically what we want ideally in the world, but US is better, right? So relatively better, 128. But if you look at this, Mexico, lot better, 40 per million. 40 per million is really good. Brazil, 46 per million, right? Colombia, 47 per million. And Argentina, 30, Paraguay, 38 million, right? Uruguay, 156, Argentina, 80, right? Chile, 90. So all these, most of these, and also the best one is South Africa, right? So at least from this 8.4. Oman, 3.7, right? Um, and Philippines, 20. So these are the best countries, right? So now I have a quiz. So maybe before we go to the quiz, I'm just going to add the labels here, right? So I'm just going to say add the labels. Now you can see the labels also get added here. I can also now clearly see what is going on. So this is very good, right? Maybe if you see the mouse that whenever I move the mouse, there is a little how do you say, a tooltip appearing, right? So I can also control that. I can go to tooltip and say uh, country, which is whatever country that you're looking at, recorded total suicide rate of per million, right? So uh, I'm just going to, okay. click OK. So you see, when I move the mouse, it says Canada recorded a total suicide rate of 130.2 per million, right? And the United States recorded a total suicide. So it is pulling all the information, it is putting it next to the text that you had given, and it gives the information in a nice readable format, right? So it's wonderful. And this can be very useful when you're presenting information, right? So when people just go hover the mouse over the data, they can understand what's going on in a readable format. So that's one of the best features I like about Tableau. So now we can call this map view, or we can call it country trim. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the quiz, look into the next question. So most South American countries had similar suicide rates. Do you all agree? True, false? Well, I see a lot of people are excited to look into the quiz. Some South American countries had similar suicide rate. True, true, true. Most of the countries had similar suicide rates, right? So I'm just going to go to the map and just, Mexico is Central American, so I cannot take that. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, right? So that's very nice. So Colombia, 47, Ecuador, 60, Brazil, 47. So mostly they had less than 100, except Uruguay, right? So Uruguay had 156. Apart from that, they all had less than 100. So we can clearly see that most South American countries had similar suicide rates. So we'll click true and then we submit. So that's correct, right? So a lot of people got it right. So that's really good. Again, huge thumbs up to all of you. So now let's go back to Tableau and let's see what more we can do. Okay, so now we understood what's going on in terms of the country, right? I'm also going to understand what the suicide trend across, let's say, the gender, across the age, right? So all these things I also want to understand. So I'm just going to create another chart and bring, let's say, the sex here, right? So male and female, right? So I can show this like a table, or I can show this as a bar chart. But then what I want to do is, since we have just two genders here, maybe I want to show it as a pie chart. So that would be very nice, right? So I'm just going to click Control Z and bring the gender again and drop it in color. The moment I drop it in color, it shows 2 marks here, right? It's not talking about any pie chart or anything. It's just 2 marks. So male and female, that's it. You can also see that here. So now I want to tell Tableau that, hey, Tableau, I don't want a bar chart, I want a pie chart. So pie, the moment I say pie, it creates a pie for me. But then the thing is, the size of the pies are not controlled. So now it's all equal, right? So why it is equal? Because I haven't put any number into this. But before that, I want to make this a little bit bigger. So I'll change the view to entire view so that it fills my screen. So that's nice. And now I'm going to take the total population, the total suicide, right? So since I'm looking at the whole male population and whole female population, it's okay to take the total suicide numbers. I'm just going to take that and drop it in the angle, because angle is what we control in a pie chart, right? So the moment you do that, the angle has changed. So let me take the gender, drop it in the label. So this is female, this is male, and then take the angle again, the sum of suicides, and drop it in the label. You see the actual values here. So here you can see that among female, 15 lakh people committed suicide, 15 lakh 56,000. Among male, 51 lakh 76,000. So that's almost like 3 times, right? Okay, so I have to do the math in my head. Not a lot of people will be able to do the math in their head, right? Not do that myself. Since I did this pie chart in the morning, I know the math, right? So otherwise, I cannot do the math in my head. But looking at the pie chart, you can clearly see that it is quarter of the pie, right? So it's less than 25%. But how do I get the percentage? So that's very easy. I'm going to click this, which is on my label, right? So in that label, I'm going to click this drop down, and I'm going to add a calculation in my table. So I'm just going to say, hey, instead of showing the actual number, give me the percentage of total. The moment I do that, 23% female, 77% male, right? Out of the entire population who committed suicide, male is more than 75%, female is 23%. So which means what? Male need a lot of psychological guidance and counseling, and they need to go to mental health checkups more frequently. So this is a serious problem among the males, all right? So they go through a lot of mental health issues a lot, and it's very difficult for them to tackle. So that's also concluded by a lot of research. So that's a serious thing, and we can clearly see that using the data here, right? So maybe what I can do is the what the color of male and female. If I'm going to use the stereotypes, then we can change that. I can go to color here, edit color, and then I can change female to, let's say, pink, and male to blue. I know a lot of people may not like this, but I'm just doing it so that you know what to where to change these things, right? So you can clearly see that the colors now clearly show what's going on. So now I can say gender split. Okay, that's good. What I'm going to do is I'm also going to look into the age-wise distribution. So create another chart. So here I'm going to repeat the same, bring the age here, and then bring the total suicides, or maybe in this case we can bring the suicide per million, right? So suicide rate I'm going to bring in here. You can see I'm also going to add the label here. So that's done. Make this a little bit bigger. So now we can see that the age-wise distribution is also done. So if you look at this, 5 to 14 years, so these young children, there is a very low suicide rate, thankfully, 6.2 out of million. 15 to 24, young adults, 93, right? And then in 25 to 34, again, it is increasing, 133 out of a million. 35 to 54, that's the mid-age, 170. 55 to 74, it increases. That's when it goes to the peak, right? So 245 out of a million. That's really sad, right? So that's what we see in terms of the age. So I'm just going to call this as age distribution. So that's basically what we have here. So let's go back to quiz and no, someone was saying 254.4, 254 percentage. No, it's not percentage. It's 245 out of 1 million, right? And this is 6.2 out of a million, 93 out of a million. Yeah. Okay, so someone was saying whether it is free. Tableau is not free. Tableau is a paid software, but Tableau Public is free, right? Tableau Public is for everyone to use. So now we have looked into this data. So what I want to do is I also want to answer some more questions in the quiz. Quiz time, everyone, ready for the quiz? So next question. Okay, men are more likely to commit suicide compared to the women. True or false? True, true. True, 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 true. That's true. So almost everyone got it right? So men are more likely to commit suicide. That's correct answer. So everyone got it right. So that's good. Thanks. Next question. Suicide rate is common among which age group, right? 14, less than 14 years, 15 to 24 years, 24 years, 35 to 54 years, 75 plus years. Age increases, the option D or E, 75 plus. I mean, I see that some of you are saying option D. I'm going to switch back to the chart. So 75 is this, 55 to 74 is this, This is 35, this is 25, 15, and 14. So 75 plus, right? So a lot of people got this right. So let's see if the answer is correct. That's correct, right? So we got all of these 6 questions done, right? So let's switch back to Tableau. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine all these charts into a dashboard, right? So that's the nice thing about Tableau. So everything used to be just a chart. I'm going to click on this button here. So that will create a dashboard. So that creates me a dashboard. We have, so someone is asking where can we find the data. So maybe what I'll do is I'll ask my colleagues at Internshala to give a link to the data after the session. So somewhere they will post the link, yeah, after the session. Good. So now we have this dashboard, empty dashboard available. So now I'm going to make this dashboard a little bit wider so that it fills the screen. So I'm going to say the size is going to be automatic. So that fills my screen. And now just like how I created dashboard, charts, I can look into the charts here, drag and drop and create a dashboard, right? I'm going to take the yearly, start with the country trend, right? So drag and drop here. You see, that's my dashboard, right? Again, dashboard, what's the purpose in creating dashboard with just one chart, right? I want to bring more charts. Yearly trend, I'm going to drop it here. I can drop anywhere I want, right? So it will create in wherever I drop it, the chart will go there, right? I'm going to drop it in the lower left, okay, on the lower side. And then I'm going to take the gender and drop it here. And then I'm going to take the age distribution, drop it here. I'm going to adjust how these are split. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, so now we have the dashboard. So the thing with the dashboard is we can look at everything in one group, right? So that's that. But also what I want to do is I want this dashboard to be interactive. What do I mean by interactive is if I want to specifically analyze what's going on with Russia, I should be in a position to click on Russia and see what's going on. And if I want to analyze what's going on with the United States, I want to click on the United States and analyze what's going on with the United States, right? So how can I do that? Tableau gives you multiple ways to do that. One of the simplest way, and for this exercise, I'm going to use the most easiest one. And that is, if I go to this container, there is a small filter button here. I'm going to click this and say, use this chart as a filter, right? The moment I say this, I click on anywhere in the chart, then you see everything else gets updated, right? So that's good. If I click on Australia, everything else also gets updated, right? So in Australia, the trend is increasing, so that's sad. Whereas with Russia, the trend is declining, right? So that's a very good thing. Since 2002, the trend is declining. So I can do this thing, filtering with any chart, right? I can also click this chart, right? Yearly trend. I can also use this as a filter. I can click on the gender and also use this as a chart filter. Use also this as a filter. So now I'm using every single chart as a filter. So let's say now I want to look into US, right? I click on the US. So in the US, the suicide trend is increasing. Since 1998, it's constantly increasing, right? It has doubled almost, right? So from 30,000 to 45,000. So it's a 50% increase. So that's really bad. And in the US, the suicide rate among, right? So the gender split is 20% female and 80% male. So now if I want to understand among male, what's the age split, right? So I can just click on the male here. And the moment I do that, you look at this, there is a 1 people out of a million commit suicide in the US, right? So among the male who are 75 years old, there's a 431. If I look at female, so Among female, 35 to 54 is the most likely age for someone to commit suicide in the US, right? So 76.54, 76.5, right? So that's that many people out of a million committed suicide among the females. So the age distribution is completely different among male and female in the US. So this is the amount of insight that you can get when you look into Tableau, right? And if I also want to understand how the yearly trend is among this group, I will click on this. But bad, right? So it is increasing further. What happened to 75 plus? So this is kind of decreasing and it went up recently, right? So this is the power of Tableau. You can use any chart as a filter. You can click through, play with it, and extract as much insights as you want, right? So this is where, you can give this to your audience with this chart. They should be in a position to understand what is going on, and they can play with this chart Tableau dashboard and then come with lot of insights, right? So that's the power of Tableau. So finally, I want to save this, right? So I'm using Tableau Public. So if you're using Tableau desktop, then there is a different way to save this. I'm using Tableau Public. So you have to go to Manage Profile and log in into your Tableau Public account, and then you click on Save to Tableau Public, right? So Tableau Public allows you to save only in the cloud or not on your desktop. So the moment you save on Tableau Public, then you can say, hey, this is going to be suicide trend webinar version. And then when I click save, that should save it, and it will save it in your Tableau public profile, and give it some time because it's communicating with the cloud. Okay. So now, okay, you can see that my browser is open and it is saved into Tableau Public, right? So it's in my profile, Fazan Sajahan, and I should be in a position to see this. So you can open this in browser, right? If I make it full screen, this is open in the browser. So if you want to share this, you can click on the share link and share it to anyone that you want, right? So you can put it in your LinkedIn page or your Facebook, or you can put it in your online resume, or send it to anyone, right? So Tableau public versions of your dashboards is very much recommended when you are learning Tableau and going for interviews, right? So this is going to be a lot when you're attending interviews. So that's it for the session. So so in terms of what we have for the session, I think I'm done. I'll open the floor for questions. If there are any questions, I can take them. We have a few more minutes. Manpreet, I hope that we still have some time for questions, right?
Yes, we do, Fazan.
Yeah. So
First of all, I would like to thank you for the amazing session. It was really informative, and I'm sure you all got to learn a lot. And before we open the floor for our audience, I have a question for you. So, as somebody who is new to this domain and somebody who is eagerly interested in learning more, what is the right path for me?
okay. That's a great question, Manpreet. So, Tableau is there is no one right way to learn it, right? So there are multiple ways to learn it, and Tableau, uh, very intuitive. As you can see, what I did in 1 hour, right? You could create wonderful charts in just 1 hour, and it's very intuitive to learn, right? And what I have seen is a lot of people pick up Tableau skills in less than a couple of weeks, right? Less than a few weeks, they were able to pick up Tableau skills and they were able to implement it in real life. There's plenty of courses, online courses, and materials for Tableau. With the Internshala, we have built a course, and that course I think is about 7-8 hours with a lot of quizzes and projects. So that's a wonderful resource for people to learn Tableau if you want. Ideally, it would not take more than a couple of weeks for you to learn Tableau, right? The way it is built, if you put time, you have the license, the trial version. You should be in a position to learn it before before the trial ends, right? So that's how easy it is. And I have seen people learning Tableau within a couple of weeks and get into roles such as BIS or BI developer kind of roles, right? So that's very much possible. I have seen some of my mentees doing that within just a few weeks. So yeah, so that's what I would recommend. But also there are plenty of resources as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fazan, for that. I mean, and for all the keen learners here today, Internshala Trainings is offering a very special 10% discount on our Tableau training. So you can visit the link in the YouTube video's description and use code Practicals10 to avail this discount right now. So just go on and click on that. And for all of you who would like to ask Fazan any questions, you can just type them in the chat. And Fazan, if you could please take them up.
Yeah. So I'm looking at some of the questions, right? So someone was asking, can we access Tableau on Android phones? The thing is, if you public, right? Tableau public, it's a desktop application that you can install in your desktop, but also you can open it in your browser, right? You can the browser features are a bit limited, right? But if you open in browser, you can also build some dashboards in browser. So if you're using an Android phone or a tablet, then you can use the browser version to do that. So are the charts only shareable through links? Yes. You can. So wherever when you are saving the Tableau public version, you can keep the one tab open and just share that. That's possible. But if you're using a desktop version, there are several ways to export it, right? So you can export the chart as a picture and then share it as well. But then the interactivity will be lost. Can a commerce analyst and learn BI and Tableau and get a job in this field? Of course, yes. I have seen several people doing that. Which one is more beneficial, R or Tableau? So these are different animals. R allows you to not only tackle with the visualization, but also the analytics. You can build models and all that, right, in R and Python. But R is a lot cumbersome when you want to create charts, and Tableau is meant for creating charts. I have used R for several years to build charts, and believe me, you need to write tons and tons of codes to create some decent charts, and interactivity absolutely zero. But of course, there is this Plotly you can use in R for interactivity, but it is nowhere compared to Tableau. What's the future opportunity in Tableau? So you can become a data analyst or a BI developer using with Tableau, right? So that's one of the possible things.
I guess that would be all, Fazan. Thank you so much for the amazing session, and
thanks everyone. Thanks for
joining
making
us.
it a wonderful interactive session. Thanks. I really enjoyed the questions and all the comments and everything. Thanks. Sorry, Manpreet, go ahead.
Yeah. And so for all of you who are eagerly interested in knowing what's next from here, we are also doing a session on Photoshop Master the Foundation of Graphic Design next Wednesday, that is 16th March. And Nimisha Agarwal is going to take this session. So if you would like to register for this session, I'll just ping the link in the chat and you all can go and register for this session. And we are also planning a lot of other exciting sessions. So just subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss any updates regarding these. Thank you so much for joining and have a great weekend. Thanks, Fazan.
Thank you.